turns of phrase, he's a phrase maker. He made beautiful sentences, right? And sometimes Bill would take a single word and then try to show all the facets of that word. He'd turn it like a jewel and just show you all of the ways that the meaning might have metamorphosized over the years, how it may have changed, how its etymology may have crept into our consciousness in ways that we didn't think necessarily it would. This is one of those. Promiscuous. Mixes easily, the dictionaries used to say. Straight shot from the Latin. Chemists used to apply the term to matters amiability, but the Random House Dictionary gives as its prime meaning promiscuous, characterized by frequent and indiscriminate changes of one's sexual partners. Sounds like a long way to say slut. That glob of blame we once threw equally at men and women, all who slurred, slavered, slobbered, slumped, slept or lapsed, slunk or relapsed, slackened, loose lips sink ships, or slugged, or slovened. They were all promiscuous. But soon, a slut was only a female. A much-bedded male got called a ladies' man. We assumed he never slept with sluts. Now, how sluts got to be sluts is thus a mystery, except the language knows what we may have forgotten. Depression, for instance, began its career in English in 1656, says the Old English Dictionary, and is meant, by science jargon, to be the opposite of elevation, a depression, a hole or a rut, perhaps, or later, the angular distance of a celestial object below the horizon, as Webster's Third has it. There's ample record of our self-deceit. Language, that furious river, carries on its foamed and sinewed back all we thought we'd shucked off. Of course, it's all pell-mell, head over heels, snickers and grief, love notes and libel, fire and ice. In short, the language reflects us. And in short, the language is us. Promiscuous. Okay, I'm going to read one last one real quick, and then I want to introduce our second prize winner for the Mathews Prize. This is a poem of mine. This is the same sort of strategy. This is in a new book called The Skin of Meaning, and it's taking a single word and trying to turn it to show how many views you might get. It's called Ceremony. This poem was sort of inspired by a Kafka story about the leopard, where he talks about what ceremony really means. And the villagers were, every month or so, they would go into the temple, and they were trying to think of a way that they could call down their god. So they decided they were going to give sacrifices. So they finally came up with the idea of taking a saucer of milk and taking it in there and putting it on the shrine and leaving the saucer of milk and then waiting to see if the god showed up. And over time, eventually, a jaguar began sniffing around, smelled that milk, and so the jaguar came into the temple and drank the milk. And so they were waiting for the god to show up, so of course that must mean that the jaguar is a god, or a jaguar and a god in jaguar form, as it were. And so the ceremony began to take in the jaguar and the milk and the temple and the people. And the ceremony of riding is the same way. It takes in all of the things that we think we don't need, and they become part of the ceremony of riding, so that we become this open conduit, constantly thinking about all the poems that are slithering through the ash cans and windows and rain grates, and trying to find the readers they were intended for all along. The ceremony of riding. You can't stand on it or be dumped by it. unceremoniously or otherwise. It's the bid rigging that makes you want to find your own starlet, oozily boozy, and wildly willing to succumb to the dealer in the middle of his fourth shoe. Though if you ever make a real blackjack run in Vegas or Hollywood, then all bets are off, because life won't ever lay the same way again. And the definitions of your previous scandals are formidably challenged and secretly downgraded, changed as it were, in the light of your fresh gambling circumstances. Take terrorism, for instance, which was once defined by the Oxford English Dictionary as government by intimidation. And now, whole governments are intimidated by a handful of foreign terrorists with their mind on paradise and their fingertips sliding greasily over the uncertain construction of their underwear bomb. It takes a village idiot to kill them softly, with sordid reviews and bad word of mouth. But the English invented football, what we roughnecks call soccer, when they kicked around the heads of Danish invaders that they had slaughtered. And that's where the whole mess gets a little tricky, you see, because one man's game is the other's life in full, with the power of luck attesting to the difference between a top and a bottom. In 10 minutes, a hurricane releases more energy than all the world's nuclear weapons detonated at once. That puts the eye on that particular apocalypse trigger in several places at the same time, and we're already running out of names for our hurricanes. You see, there are more plastic flamingos than real ones in the United States, right? And every 2 seconds a Tupperware demonstration begins. But all the swans in England are property of the Queen. Just the mention of a public superstition, for instance, that all the mad, pacing ravens kept in the Tower of London would cause the monarchy to fail if they were ever to leave. And this creates a job for a British citizen, someone to clip the raven's wings, assuring that the superstition and the birds themselves stay put. Drones in a hive have only one job: their ceremony to mate with their queen, and those lucky enough to do so die in the act. It is a tender fact that the heart of a full-grown blue whale is as large as a small Toyota, and its tongue is as long as an elephant, tail to trunk. But when the dealer in a casino in Vegas spies a whale, the whole casino is alerted, and his chances get the swell swatted right out of them by all the cameramen. It ain't the love that gets you killed, it's the letter. It's not the spike that wins the point, it's the setter. And the machinations of tapping shoes accompanied by piano can send you tipping down the wrong dark alley just to help your friend. And you hear a rhythm in the square, and for a second, all your life is bent to listen. And you step off that sidewalk toward that sound, right in front of the onrushing bus, whose passengers' mortified eyes reveal your fresh future, and its lack of brakes announce your end.